What's up guys, Spectacular Scar Spider 118 here, and today I am doing a video that has been requested of me for a long time now. And today that is going to be a comparison between print costumes, normal dye subs, their upgrade fabrics, and their color fabrics. So there's a lot of differences to go in between these, so this video might be a little bit longer, but I think that you guys might find this a little helpful because when deciding what you want for your costume, you have to take in multiple things into account. First things first, you have to take in what you want in terms of fabric quality and thickness of it. Another thing you want to take in is the quality of the print that you're going to get on the fabric and the details that come through on that. And finally, you want to just take in overall personal preference, because I'm going to say right off the bat, I think my preference is towards color fabrics, but you guys already know that. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with regular dye subs. This is one of my more recent ones, which is the Spider-Man Beyond suit from Yeet Yourself Off a Cliff. What you're getting with a regular dye sub, what dye sub means is that this is basically printed on white fabric. So if you look in here, white regular fabric, the colors aren't separated or anything. It's just the most simple and effective way to get a Spider-Man costume. Is kind of the universal way to do it. And so this is kind of just, it's the standard, and the fabric is just thin. It's not thick, because the difference between this and this is that the fabric is a little bit thicker and more durable. But that's not to say that this isn't durable, because this has many good qualities about it. And a lot of the suits that I have are regular dye subs, and none of them have really like ripped or anything. But what you're getting with this is that when you stretch the fabric, you're getting that white fading a lot. So when your joints are bent, like your knees or your elbows, some of the white fabric will show on the other side of that, and that's what a lot of people kind of sometimes don't prefer with regular dye sub suits. Otherwise, the print quality does come out very well on this. There's no discrepancies there on my part. I think now I am very detail oriented. Sometimes I like my suits simpler. This is a very simple suit, no textures or anything, and I asked for that when I was talking to Logan about it. I mean, but if you look at this, you have textures and shading and whatnot. This has a little bit of muscle shading, but I like my suits simple. So if you're wanting a more complex, detailed suit, either go with one of these two, because, and I'll get to this when I get to the color fabrics, but details don't really show up on that well. Between these two, prints kind of vary. I've had only 2 of the upgrade fabric suits, and on both of them, this is the one that came out a little bit better. Now, technically, I got the suit when print costume was still Zentai Zone, but it's the only most recent suit I have from them that is upgraded fabric. The fabric quality is still the same from what I understand. Otherwise, regular dye subs are kind of just universal standard suits. Nothing too special about them. I would say this is your safest bet if you're just going for a regular Spider-Man suit that you don't really care, because again, just because they sell this as more durable, and it is technically more durable, but this is better because you don't get as hot in these regular dye subs. With the upgrade fabric suits, I've noticed that I've started to get a little bit hotter because the fabric's not as thin and it doesn't let out heat as well, which might be good if you're going to a convention in the winter or something. But otherwise, I definitely prefer just having regular suit if I'm walking around, so I don't get too sweaty in them. But that's mostly what it is for dye subs. I mean, the details of this Beyond suit aren't really important, but if you want it, hit up Logan, Get Yourself Off a Cliff. I'll link him below. This is my PS4 Kane suit from Joel House. Very beautiful suit. I need to wear it more. I've come to realize that this is a suit that I don't really wear a lot. For whatever reason, my camera is picking up as orange, but it is very much red, so I don't know what that's about. But guys, my camera is weird, so whatever. The details on this show up very well, and like I just said, I think for detail-wise, if you want a suit to have all the little bits and pieces, like all the textures show up and everything, you might want to get an upgrade fabric suit, because the print quality is a lot higher, because the fabric isn't as thin, which means that the details are able to show up a lot more, a lot better. And so when you kind of, again, you're still getting the white fabric stretch, because again, it is still technically dye sub, but the fabrics are thicker, which means that, again, it contains a lot more heat, but it's also more durable. And honestly, I don't really see much of the point in getting these upgrade fabric suits unless you really want that higher quality detailed prints, which isn't even to say that these prints are bad, because they're not. But the colors do come through a lot better on these suits. It's mostly just an aesthetic sort of preference thing with these costumes, because again, just because the fabric's thicker doesn't mean that the quality on these aren't as good. In fact, I've had no problems with either of these in terms of ripping, but then again, I'm a lot more careful with my suit than other people are, so who am I to say? But I mean, the fabric's thicker. You can definitely, it has a lot more weight to it. I guess you can kind of hear when I jiggle both of them, you kind of hear that this is a little bit heavier. The fabric kind of weighs a little bit more, which is great, though I just personally don't really see a point in getting this over this. And I only got this one with upgrade fabrics because it had been a few years since I got my first one, which was my Romita Junior suit. So I really wanted to test out to see if they had changed anything with them, and they really haven't. They're not, in my opinion, you're paying $30 extra just for a little bit more detail, which you're still getting great amount of detail in the regular dye sub fabrics, because print costume quality with printing is always impeccable, at least in my experience. There's only been once or twice where they've kind of messed the printing up on regular dye sub suits, but this, don't really recommend it. It's a preference thing. You're still getting great quality with both. I just don't see the point in paying extra money for something that you're basically getting the same out of with this. So that's kind of the point with upgrade fabrics. Now, for the most unique one here, colored fabrics, I've gone on and on about color fabrics on my channel. You guys know I am a color fabric shill, but there's a lot of different things that you have to take in with color fabrics. What do color fabrics even mean? Well, it's kind of self-explanatory if you really think about it, but the fabrics, instead of being printed on white like these two are, it's actually printed on the color that the part of the suits are. So like on the inside of this is black, and then on the inside of the red is red. And so they sew it together. In fact, you can see the stitch lines here. It creates new seams like that. You have to be careful a little bit with your measurements, adjust them a little bit. I think like add half an inch to the waist area, if I remember correctly. You guys can watch some of my reviews. I mentioned that. But the problem with color fabrics that a lot of people don't like about them with print costume, and I'm not sure how well they've adapted to this, but on certain colors, certain details don't show up well. This is Gunhead Designs cane pattern, and if any of you guys know what that actually looks like, there's a lot more heavy muscle shading all over here, and so you can see some of it came through these little dark areas up here and here. If my camera would focus, yes. And so they don't really show up well in color fabrics because the dark, or at least this red, absorbs a lot of that detail. And obviously any textures or any muscle shading that you would have on black fabric just gets completely absorbed, and it's no longer there because, again, it's black fabric. You're not getting anything through on that. And so that's the only downside, is that your details, like your textures, like let's say I had these hexagon or these square texture patterns and I wanted to put it on color fabrics, they're not really going to show up because the colors will absorb them. Now, I had a Spiderman suit, a classic Spiderman suit made by Gaston Patterns, Gaston Spidey, and on the lighter blue sections, the hexagon patterns actually showed up quite well because it's a lighter fabric, much like a white fabric would show these details a lot more. That fabric was able to do that. But another thing you need to know about color fabrics is that you're going to have to make some sacrifices, sort of, which will cost extra money, because I'm pretty sure print costume now charges, I think, $10 extra for color fabrics, which is pretty fair because they had to put in some work with the stitch work. But let's say you're an enjoyer, like I am, of vertical back zippers. A lot of people have their own preferences, vertical or U-shape. But the problem here is that you have to get U-shaped zippers with color fabrics because in order for the spider logos to show up on these suits, you need to get the 3D raised emblems. So as you can tell, this is a more raised jersey fabric type. This isn't spandex, this is just a raised emblem here, and on the back it's a more foamy sort of raised material, and so the zipper can't intersect that, so you have to get a U-shaped zipper, which as you can see here goes from one underarm to the other. So it's a minor sacrifice, but this is the cane suit. I do have another color fabric suit from Print Costume with me. I just didn't display it as the one that I was showcasing here because it's a little bit different. As you guys can tell, it's the Universal Studios suit. I thought I'd just show a classic Spider-Man suit in terms of like the color separation here, but I didn't want to display this one as the one I showed you guys because this is a lot different. You know, the pattern is, you know, a lot more insane with the way that it's laid out. This is old Spidey's Universal Studios version 2 pattern. If you want it, you guys can check him out on Instagram and check out my review for more on the suit. But as you can tell, the blues are blue and the reds are red, and they're separated just like that. Though again, my camera is being kind of dumb and it wants to pick up colors as orange instead of red, so don't really know what that's about. But otherwise, yeah, that's kind of the difference between all three of these. Color fabrics, in my opinion, are my favorite because I'm a lot more of a simplistic design sort of guy when it comes to Spider-Man suits, and this really gives me more of a pop. Color fabrics will give you a pop with your colors because you're not getting that fading and you're really getting the richness of the colors. It kind of feels more like Spider-Man in terms of him sewing the costume with two different color types. And I just prefer it that way because it gives you a lot more of a pop, an umph, if you will. When you look at it, it shines and it's got a more silky feel to it. This is definitely lighter, it's silkier, it's probably the lightest of the fabrics, which might make it a little bit less durable, but I think that it's a lot more special in the regards that it's unique. It's got its own thing. But if you're more detail oriented, I would say go for maybe the upgraded fabrics, because again, a lot of great detail comes out on these, but that's not to say that you're not getting good detail out of these. But this is just a simple pattern, but I think this is the most universal option. Regular dye subs are great from Print Costume, definitely worth it, but you know, it's all up to preference. So what do you guys think? If you guys were getting any new Spider-Man suits, what is your preference? Again, mine's color fabric, but tell me down below, what do you guys get when you get Spider-Man suits? And if you're new to getting Spider-Man suits, tell me if this video was helpful. If there's anything else I can add to it, just ask me questions down below and I can answer those, clear anything up. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, share the video, follow me on Instagram at Spectacular Scar. Use code SCAR118 at printcostume.com to save you 15% off your orders. Not only does that help you save money, but it also helps me promote content like this to show you guys all the differences between the fabrics at Print Costume. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Spectacular Scar 118 out. Peace.